One is a grown man with an encyclopedic knowledge of cinema. The other, a man-child raised by the more questionable corners of the internet. What happens when they each dive into something the other one loves? Find out on
The Man with No Brain.
Yeah, he had a turlet emergency. He might be shitting his brains out right this second on the turlet.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's why he can't get on.
His diaper's just dripping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. No one was there to change his diapers. Everyone's out of the house for 3 days. Yeah. He's full of diaper gravy.
Okay, shut up.
What? Alright, yeah, I'm gonna call him now. So should I just set it up for a second?
If you want to.
Okay. So, hello there, people. This is a new episode of The Man with No Brain, and I may be mistaken, but The Man with No Brain podcast is recorded on 6 o'clock on the dot. It is now 6:04, and Ryan Matthew Ziegler is nowhere to be seen.
Joe, do you think there's any chance he's doing this intentionally?
Oh, maybe he's trying to rile me up.
He could be, to get back at you for, all the shenanigans you've pulled.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
So, okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna call his personal cell phone number and see what's up.
And that number is
555. There's a bunch of 8s in it. Here we go. Can you hear it? Yep.
Okay, get it real close. Turn that volume all the way up.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh yeah, here it is.
The party you have dialed does not answer. Please leave a message after the tone. After you have
Interesting.
finished, press the pound key for more options, or simply hang
Leave
up.
a message.
Okay.
It just beeped, Joe. Leave a message.
Oh, it beeped? Oh, okay. Ryan, where are you? It's 6:05 currently, and we've got a Man with No Brain episode to record. I'm very disappointed in you. I'm like a stern father. I'm not sad. I'm just disappointed. So, please get on whenever you see this, I guess. Whenever the time's convenient for you. There we go.
You little shithead.
What?
Whenever the time is convenient for you.
Well.
I mean, I do hope he's okay, because this is very unlike Ryan. Again, he could be pulling something on you.
Maybe.
Teaching you a lesson.
Oh, a lesson of timeliness.
Yeah.
But the time I was just late was a gag. I wasn't late.
Yeah, but there was precedent. You're late regularly for other things, so that's why it's too easy to trick him, He'll believe it.
Yeah. That Joe Buckley's probably late again. I don't think I've been actually late in a good while.
Well, I mean, that's not totally true. You did completely miss an episode of Malevolent Movies.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's right. Yes,
that was only like a month ago. That wasn't too long ago.
Yes.
This is interesting. Okay, let's see. He just saw it. He just saw the message.
Okay. There we go.
The link to the chat or the call.
Okay.
So let's see.
Maybe he was on one of his famous 12-mile jogs.
Could be. Maybe he was eating an MRE. Maybe he was polishing a Blu-ray. You never know.
Yeah.
Maybe he was working.
That's a good.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the good thing about Blu-rays is they are Buckley-proof. You cannot scratch them. You can't smudge them. They're almost indestructible.
What did you... Buckley what?
Buckley-proof.
What's Buckley-proof?
I can't fuck up the Blu-rays.
Oh, okay.
The Blu-ray disc. Yeah, the underside of the Blu-ray disc has like a coating to protect against scratches. You can't really fuck them up.
It's got a coating. You mean coating.
That's what I said.
Coating. It's got a coating. Oh, he's in the waiting room. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Having some connectivity issues, and I have a voicemail.
Yes, Ryan. If you could please play that voicemail.
All right. It's part of the reason I got stopped up is somebody called me that I don't know this number.
What? You don't know that number?
No. Let's see here.
Let's see how this plays out, Joe.
It's an Illinois number. Wow, it must be. Hold on.
6:05 p.m. from 8156.
Okay.
Mm.
Oh, it beat. Oh, okay. Ryan, where are you? It's 6:05 currently, and we've got a Man with No Brain episode to record. You know, I'm very disappointed in you. I'm like a stern father. I'm not sad. I'm just disappointed. So please get on whenever you see this, I guess. Whenever the time's convenient for you.
To play the message, press 1.
Oh,
You have any thoughts on that, Ryan?
I do. 1 second. Let me clear this out here. Here's the thing, Joe.
Okay.
At around 5:55 p.m., I went into where Tyler had asked me if I would be available to record this on Tuesday, which I said yes, and I saw no time. And I hadn't heard anything, so I was like, well, maybe it'll be 6:30, maybe it'll be 7, maybe, because I don't know what the episode's about, so I figured, well, maybe there's another time. So I sat here just kind of pleasantly waiting, and then my phone lets me know that there's a message that's a Zoom, but I don't get it immediately. So when someone sends me a message from Messenger, it'll probably take 2 or 3 minutes, unless I'm on my phone, for it to let me know that there's a thing. So as soon as I saw it, I started getting set up, but then I'm stopped because the phone starts vibrating, and so I wait for that to go through. So ultimately, Joe,
Oh, it was my fault.
your voicemail made me later.
Now, Ryan, I don't know if you noticed something interesting about that voicemail. Joe said, I'm like a stern father. I'm not sad. I'm disappointed. Interesting that he said sad and not mad. Traditionally, it's I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. So there's something about Joe's relationship with his dad, where his dad is usually sad.
Oh, yeah.
He's always sobbing in the living room.
I understand. He spends so many hours of his day lifting up pieces of glass that when he comes home, his arms are sore. Is there a son there to thank him for what he does? Is there a son there to say, hey, Dad, you know what? Let me take you out to dinner. You do so much for me. Let me mow the lawn. Let me pay one mortgage payment. No, there's none of that coming from his eldest seed. But that's fine.
I just bought them dinner like a week ago.
Oh, did you?
What'd you get him?
Yeah, we got tenderloins.
Oh, from the bar down the street?
Yes.
Oh, okay. What was the occasion for you to do that?
It's Tendy night.
Yeah. They just wanted something, so I offered to go grab it.
That's interesting, Joe. All right, well, I'm glad you did. I'm just, is that something you've done a lot? Or, I mean, what was the fire in your belly to offer that? Was there a reason?
No, not really. No.
And you like tenderloins?
Oh yeah, they're good. It's fried. It's like fried pork, like fillings.
Yeah, well, I know
it's good.
Yeah, I know what they are.
Pork fillings.
We come from an area that's known for its pork tenderloins to a certain extent. Remember that bit that Sean and I did on the radio where I think it was for like March Madness or something. But who had the best pork tenderloins in all the bars and stuff and restaurants, and everybody voted. And I think the guy, and I honestly can't remember who won, because I'm not a big pork tenderloin guy, so it didn't matter to me. But I think whoever won.
You're still there, Joe, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm there.
Okay, so we lost him. Ryan, baby, come back.
In that contest, I think
Ryan, we lost you the whole deal.
I won't recount. It's not that interesting, but
it's
okay.
Joe likes tenderloins. That we've learned something new.
Joe
They're
likes
good.
his
They're really
tenderloins.
good.
But Joe,
I'm surprised a little bit that you do. I mean, I know it's fried, but tenderloins, depending on where you get them in the Illinois Valley, they can be a little chewy. They can be a little gamey.
Yeah. Sometimes they're
pork.
gristly. I don't really like the gristle.
Well, and I'm assuming, Joe, you're a big bun and ketchup guy with your tenderloin. Does that sound right?
I remove the bun. The bun is removed, and then I do use ketchup.
Well, is it because are they doing the one? There's a thing in the Illinois Valley with pork tenderloins where they make them huge, but then they put the little tiny. Well, they're not tiny buns; they're normal sized buns. Yeah. But the pork tenderloin is so huge that the bun looks like a funny little hat in the middle.
Yeah. I've gotten those before.
Kinds. Is that the kind you got?
Yeah.
And then traditionally, people put what is it? It's mustard and onions and pickles. That seems to be the traditional topping in the IV. That's sort of just like the basic from what I learned during our pork tenderloin contest on the radio. But
yeah, no, I like pickles, but the pickle juice soaks into the breaded meat, and I don't like that.
God. Well, Joe's got a tenderloin in one hand and a giant pickle in the other.
A big dill.
So do you eat like a piece of steak with a knife and a fork?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. I just tear it apart with my hands.
Eats it like a steak. Fancy boy Buckley here with his tenderloin.
Imagine if Joe won the lottery or somehow became incredibly independently wealthy, and he would have some butler bringing out his dinner on a silver platter, and it's got the top, the covering and everything, and he lifts it. Is this to your satisfaction, Monsieur Buckley? And it's just this fucking fried piece of pork flattened out, pickles on the side.
Yeah.
Mr. Buckley, shall I fillet you while you enjoy your tenderloin?
Yes, sir.
Would you like me to take your compacted feces and stick it back into your rectum?
No. You can leave that in the bucket, Monsieur.
Joe's lifestyle wouldn't change. It would just be fancier. So he'd still be sitting in a basement. It would just be a more well-ventilated basement. He'd still be sitting in a shitty chair. It'd just be a better chair.
It would be a $3,000 gamer chair.
And he'd still be pissing and shitting into a bucket, but it'd be a gold-plated bucket. But otherwise, his day-to-day life would not change. Would your day-to-day life, Joe, change much if you were you won $10 million?
No, I don't believe so. I think I would be surrounded by sealed boxes of Magic the Gathering. I would have no more room to move anymore. But other than that,
your lifestyle wouldn't change. It would just maybe get a little bit more convenient. But you'd still be sitting there with your files and your clicking and your shit, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, but I'd be in like the greatest private trackers I ever invented. Like the stuff that closed up 10 years ago, I'd be able to get into with my money. I'd say, hey, I'll make a $10,000 donation if I get on popcorn time.
I don't know what that means, but I'm glad to know that Joe Buckley, it will always be Joe Buckley. You can't taint the Buckley with money. He's impenetrable. No. Joe Buckley will be Joe Buckley. He'll just be a more comfortable, rich version, but he will still be Joe. You can't change Joe Buckley. We've tried. God, you've heard us. We've tried and we've tried.
Well, Ryan, actually, the interesting segue here. Joe has done something. He has accomplished something that may signify a change. It's possible. It would be the very beginning of one, but it's a big step in the right direction.
Okay.
Mr. Joseph Robert Buckley, please tell Mr. Ryan Matthew Ziegler what you have accomplished.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I got head from a fat girl, and it felt really good on my penis.
Fuck off. God damn it.
For a second there, I believed it. For a second there, I believed it until Tyler's reaction.
Well, sorry I ruined your joke, Joe.
Okay,
for a second there, I believed that you engaged in some sort of activity, and that would be a big fucking deal to have to surprise me with. But I tell you now, Joe, don't do that because I don't care that much. I would congratulate you, I guess, and I'd move on.
Well, Ryan, when he mentioned that, what did you immediately picture? Was it a pay-to-play situation? Was it he bumped into somebody he worked with at the movie theater and they hit it off?
No, I figured it would be somebody he met at the carnival. who met her through the carnival experience, not necessarily a patron. Maybe it was somebody down there, because, a whole thing that Joe never told us about, regardless of the fact that we begged him to tell us about any interactions. I would have thought, well, he met somebody down there and his cousin helped facilitate it. And, Joe went down there for the week or a weekend or something, and they had a weekend. That's what that's the kind of thing.
Hey, stud, I like the way you're able to hang upside down and not vomit. Why don't you come pour some powdered sugar on my titties?
That is a good skill to have in the carnival game.
I'm sure.
It was like the mother-in-law or whatever, the non-related owner of the ride. It was just hush money version for Joe, because they didn't want to get sued now that the podcast went out there that he got stuck on their ride and the ride was unsafe.
Yeah.
So she's like, "I'll give you anything you want, Joe."
Even head?
Oh, stop saying head. You saying head is disgusting. It's disgusting.
Okay. It is, and I can see his face and his eyebrow raised when he does it.
Mm-hmm. May I have a sloppy blowjob, ma'am?
No. Say, may I be serviced on my nether region or something? Because just any of those words, you're just like anything that I would want to use in my own intimate life is now I can't say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just it's gonna come out of my mouth and it's gonna sound exactly like you, and I'm gonna vomit.
Here's a good line. Here's a good line. Hey baby, you mind if I spray some clam juice down your throat?
Ugh.
Why are you filled with clam juice?
That's just
that's a semen. That's the semen. Another word for the semen.
It's not a clam juice enema.
No, it's not.
Because you thought that you could shoot a bunch of clam juice up your ass and turn it into a pearl.
I'm gonna be rich. I was making diamonds.
I'm gonna be rich, Daddy.
Old Clamato Buckley. It's all that fun. See, again, you had that long johns, you got drunk, it created some weird combination in your brain, it aroused you. Now you're turned on by seafood. And so now you're referencing your genitals, you're referencing anything with a seafood bent. So really, it's
yeah. I know, I'm sorry. I was just fucking my ass with a jumbo shrimp before the episode started.
Fuck off.
I hope it wasn't battered.
Okay, Joe.
No, raw.
We're gonna get a prostate infection.
Joe, we have much to discuss today. So please, if we'll go back, can you please inform Mr. Ryan Matthew Ziegler of what you have accomplished?
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah, I finally I got done watching every David Lynch, Stanley Kubrick post Strangelove, and then Paul Thomas Anderson film.
All right. Well, funny you mentioned that and well done. Clap, clap, clap. You finally watched the films of the directors you wouldn't shut the fuck up about for as long as I've known you. And it just didn't happen organically. It had to be assignment, but I'm still happy you did it. And I wondered about it because I noticed on your Plex, because I'm a glutton for punishment. I like to turn on your Plex and just get mad and look at what you've been downloading. But I did notice you had downloaded some Kubrick. At least I noticed that recently. So
yes, I had to download new encodes because my old encodes weren't up to snuff.
Okay, well, regardless, I'm glad you finally put your money where your mouth is and you finished watching the filmographies of these directors that you put on such a pedestal and shove down our throats all the time. I'm glad, Joe.
Now, Ryan.
Okay, that's good.
It's interesting that you mentioned getting upset. This is going to be a bit of a roller coaster this episode. While we are proud of Joe for what he accomplished, Joe also has much shame to his name. I spent the weekend working with Mr. Buckley, compiling every single film in his Plex and whether or not he has watched them.
Oh, Lord.
And
and I've graciously provided the info.
That is an undertaking.
Joe, it was 2 all the compiling took some time itself, but to go through every single film, it took 2 hours to get to the root. And Joe was honest. Honest. I believed every single one that he told me. Mm-hmm. Now, before we get to the things that would upset you, do you have anything you want to ask Joe, talk about with Joe in regards to his accomplishment?
I want to say I'm glad you watched the films that you watched as far as the directors, because that's the thing. That's the integrity. With fandom, there's so much name dropping. There's so much people being a wannabe. So oftentimes, Joe, you would walk around with this holier than thou attitude towards cinema, and your benchmarks are always Lynch and Kubrick. Yet knowing that you don't even really know if everything they've made you like, and that yet you still hammered it down. That's always been a big sticking point with me. So at the very least, I had no doubt that even if you dislike the Kubrick that you saw and you dislike the remaining David Lynch, you're still not going to necessarily stop hammering that down as, the greatest of all greats. And that's fine. I'm just glad you can finally speak with authority on your opinion on these directors, because you finally have seen everything they have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
but now there's nothing left. Now I got nothing to look forward to.
There's a lot of great directors. There's plenty to look forward to. You might even have them downloaded in your Plex, and we'll find out. Your next favorite director may be sitting in your Plex and you haven't even seen his stuff yet, so you're not sure.
Maybe.
Now, so I know we've set the precedent that this is phase 2 of The Man with No Brain, post-trial. And a big part of that is we're trying to do new things, and we have a lot of high-concept stuff planned I'm very excited about. So I'm sure the fans are asking, do we really need to hear more about the Plex? And I think what's going to happen today is we may come to terms with some things. I think Ryan will get some answers he's always wanted, and I think Joe will have to acknowledge some hard truths. And we're just going to learn a lot, because, Ryan, I'm looking at a spreadsheet right now with 2,037 films. Okay. I have their titles, the year that they were made, the rating, the date it was added to his Plex, the directors, writers, studio, country of origin, duration, the exact release date, and then the Plex view count. Now, the Plex view count is not necessarily the most accurate thing, because obviously Joe may have seen movies years ago that were never a part of his Plex. But a little fun, interesting fact, I can let you know when Joe started adding films to his Plex. Okay. And his journey began on, what date is that? January, February, March. April 4th of 2017.
Oh, wow. Just a matter of days before the release of Butcher the Bakers.
Interesting. I did not put that together.
That was a very busy time for all of us. And especially Tyler getting the film mixed. I remember sitting at Tyler's house with
I was with Tyler for like the last month of basically Butcher editing.
Actually, this reminds me, Joe, were you downloading the movies at my house?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. I remember you sitting at a computer for a lot of it, but it would just be interesting because I have faster internet than you, obviously.
Oh yeah, much faster.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Joe started his journey in 2017, and I believe what Joe had told me. We discussed this. There's only 2 films from 2017 that are still there. My understanding is Joe probably did have more films, but as time has gone on, there's been 4K releases of things. He's gotten better versions of those films, and it updates that timestamp. So in 2017, the remains are just Starship Troopers and Sleepaway Camp.
Yep. Those are the last 2 films I haven't replaced from my old downloads.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a fan of both movies. I love Sleepaway Camp. It's probably one of my top 5 non-Halloween, non-Friday the 13th slashers. So,
in 2018, Joseph Robert Buckley added 67 movies.
Well, and again, that's just what survived my purge of all low bitrate content.
Sure. But I mean, obviously you weren't as prolific at that time. You were busy doing other things, Benevolent Buckley, etc. And the Plex conversation didn't really hit it until about 2019 when you downloaded 533 films. Okay. And if I continue down this list, in 2020, oh boy, Joe, 2020 was a big year for you. Very big. Oh, it's key.
Yeah, I was able to get so much good stuff.
977 films in 2020. And in 2021, we're at 458. We still got some time to go, though. But it sounds like you've reached your peak, though. Maybe most of what you want is in there now.
I do. I mean, at this point, it's trying to hunt down my white whales. It's trying to get like new weird cult stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, Ryan, what questions do you have out the gate? How can I help you understand this man with no brain?
I want to. How many movies have 0 view count? Is there? Do you know? Are you able to do that immediately?
So here's what I will say. He has 53 movies that have a view count number associated with them. Now, my understanding is, so this is, Joe used a third-party software to basically compile this data. We had everything, like literally every single thing you could ever want about this movie. All of the audio specs, the video specs, the frame size, everything. So the bit rate, all of it. And I cut most of it out. So I'm assuming that this view count is probably for a complete view. So like when you're using Plex, most of the time, if you've watched up until maybe like, if you've watched about 90 to 95% of it, it kind of automatically assumes that you've completed it, and it doesn't necessarily recommend it and you continue watching. So I'm guessing that means most, if not all, was watched. And there's only 53 films on that list. And initially I was like, well, obviously Joe had been watching this stuff in other places and other times. But I have come to learn here that a lot of the movies on this list correlate with happenings in Mr. Buckley's life. An American Werewolf in London. If the folks remember that we did an episode on that.
It was almost a year ago today that we dropped that episode.
Yes.
Right.
Bad Boy Bubby, which is no surprise considering it's Joe. Dr. Strangelove, which he just watched. Inland Empire. La La Land.
No. Dr. Strangelove, I saw in the past. I didn't just watch that.
Yeah, that's one of the ones he's put on.
Is there a chance that you've watched it again though?
I did not just recently watch it again.
No. But I mean, like, have you like? So this is going back to 2017, or I'm sorry, since 2020. January 5th of 2020 is when that film was added. Is there a chance you watched Dr. Strangelove?
I mean, from what 2020?
Yeah, so over a year and
probably.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Most of the time I watch my movies in VLC. I don't use the Plex thing itself.
Well, you see, Joe said that he said that VLC is a video player software on a computer. A lot of the big movie guys use VLC because of the options you can get with it.
There's hundreds of different options. It's nice.
I want to believe Joe, but there's just too much correlation to what we've done on our various programs. American movie, something that we talk about regularly, and I know Joe likes. The Wild Bunch, which was an episode. La La Land, Lake Mungo, which Joe's mentions all the time.
I'm a huge fan.
The Poughkeepsie tapes, which Joe mentions all the time. And for some reason, the film Happiness, which was added June 29th of 2019, has been viewed 7 times.
I'm not surprised by that.
Again, I think this like software is like a bit inaccurate because I haven't watched the movie Happiness 7 times.
I've got a lot of accuracy here, Joe. I'm looking at it.
And I don't know. Happiness is the movie that's right up Joe's alley. It clicks all the boxes on the shit he likes to talk about, and I think Happiness is a good movie. And Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's got a good cast. For me, it doesn't have a rewatch value, but I've seen it a couple of times. It's been a long, long time since I've watched it. But I could totally see Happiness being part of Joe's regular rotation, at least in the last year or two, because he likes to reference this director's work. Because didn't we talk about Todd Solondz as part of your, if you could create a Blu-ray label, didn't you say you want to put out a Todd Solondz collection, Joe?
Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, because a lot of his stuff just is not available at all in like America.
Okay. Ryan, so I think we might as well just get to the nitty gritty of it because that's going to start the conversation. There's more data to comb through. Ryan,
I was gonna say, is there anything else we want to do with the Kubrick and stuff?
Oh, sure, yeah. Whatever if Ryan has any more questions about that.
Not really. Other than I'd like to know if there's your honesty, if there was anything you didn't enjoy, you didn't like, that you'll never revisit.
I shut off Fear and Desire halfway through.
Okay. So is there a reason
Which
that
is-
you get tired, or
Did
you're
you
gonna
finish it or no?
No, that's his very, very first film. He disowned that, and I can see why he did.
Well, I know, but there comes a point where the director's intentions sometimes are not as important as the films themselves. So even though he disowned it, it's not up to him to decide what's part of his filmography or not. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that was during the Hays Code era, though, so there was a lot of censorship back then too.
Joe, you're awfully close to your mic. Why don't you just take a
am
tiny
I?
step back? You're coming in real
Okay.
hot, buddy.
But it's still
Okay,
worth
that's fine.
seeing whether he disowned that, whether the director did. I would almost go to say that when a director disavows a movie, that's one of the most important movies to watch, to understand their body of work, to see that in the context of the rest of their work and their life, especially if they're dead and we know everything they did. I think those disowned movies and those student films, if you can get them, like David Cronenberg, you can see some of his student films on the Criterion releases. I think those are as important as anything in their filmography. So to quit watching it just because he disowned it, or to think you don't need to finish it because he disowned it, I disagree with that approach.
Well, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
As far as looking at someone's body work, that is, whether he disavows it or not, that is still something he made. And had he not made this, same with James Cameron. I mean, with Piranha 2: The Spawning, that was the first movie he made. It was taken away from him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very important movie in his filmography, not only because he met Lance Henriksen on that movie, which he would go on to work with multiple times. He said it was during the making of that movie that he got the idea for the Terminator. So one could say, had he not done Piranha 2, we wouldn't have the Terminator. So even though he disowns it, if you're going to look at James Cameron's body of work, you have to include and
God damn it. We'll wait for him to come back.
Oh, okay.
Ryan, come back.
I just want to kiss him.
Right on his pee-pee tip. Welcome back,
Okay,
Ryan.
there we go.
Joe Buckley, you son of a bitch. It's all your fault. It's always your fault.
That wasn't me.
Well, so
I'm not torrenting on your home network.
to touch on what you were saying, Ryan, I think it's more disrespectful, Joe. So you have this feeling where you are doing the director. You cherish the director. You're doing the director's bidding by, you like to say, boycotting stuff. And so rather than finish an experience that you're halfway through, like there's no real loss there. That additional 30 to 45 minutes or whatever it would have been is nothing in comparison to the rest of your life. I feel like what Ryan's point was valid, is that like finish the experience so you can fully understand it, because it does tell you a lot about that director. It doesn't mean that you downloaded it, so it's not like you supported the studio by any means. You know, you made it clear that you're not going to, but just to view it, it does. Nobody knows.
And the director doesn't know. You're sticking it to, when we come to that movie, who are you really sticking it to, Joe, by boycotting that movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because the thing that drives me crazy is Joe's quote unquote boycotting of Dr. Sleep. And it bothers me because, okay, I was not excited about the announcement of Blade Runner, what's
2049.
Yeah. Because I love Blade Runner. Blade Runner was one of the first movies that I connected with on a more than purely entertainment level. I was just the right age. I think I was like 15 years old the first time I saw it, and I was just blown away. I had no idea what to expect, and it was awesome. And so I wasn't excited, but I wasn't excited because I didn't know anything about the project other than everybody's doing sequels to shit that's old. And so to get myself prepared, I started watching the filmography of, and I can never say this guy's name right. Is it Denis? Is it
Villeneuve?
Yeah.
I think it's Villeneuve. But again, I haven't watched enough like interviews and enough special features where people are saying his name.
Yeah.
His name's David Vanilla.
So anyways, I watched his filmography and was equally as blown away. I think I saw Sicario first because that was one of his most recent things, but then I saw Prisoners. I watched basically everything that wasn't his like French Canadian stuff. Wonderful. And so then I saw it and I was blown away. I love Blade Runner 2049.
Oh yeah.
I don't say it's the same as Blade Runner. They're two different things, but they feel so connected. I really enjoyed it. So everybody online, including the filmies, are saying that
it's mixed.
Will
It's
you
mixed
listen?
with
Will
filmies.
you listen to me?
Okay, I'll let you get. Okay,
It's not mixed in the sense that people are impressed with what was accomplished. They're not saying it's the same or better, but they're saying that they're impressed with how it came out. It could have been It 2 or Part 2. It could have just been shit, but it isn't. And that is impressive in its own right. So, I mean, how many sequels are ever made where they're truly superior to the original? Not many.
No, there are very few. There are very few.
So for this to achieve not crap is already an achievement. To be decent, good maybe, great to some, that's pretty good. So
especially being so far removed from the first movie. And the first movie has 4 different versions.
Mhm.
Nobody can even decide what is Blade Runner. There's 4 different Blade Runners. Because I have the director's cut version on Blu-ray, but there are plenty of people that disown that version, as Joe would say.
a lot of people go Final Cut.
The Final Cut's the one I should say I have, because it's hard.
Okay.
There's like 4 or 5 different cuts. Blade Runner is different things to different people, because there's like 4 different versions of Blade Runner. And so, for 30 years removed, to make a movie as good as that, to a sequel to a movie that was already had a nightmare production and took years for people to respect. And I was incredibly shocked at how much I loved it. I watched it several times since, and I think, though, in general, the reception, it didn't do great financially, but I think the reception, because was still fairly good from most people, because that director is lauded as much now as he ever was. So when he was announced he was doing Dune, there was just a collective excitement, because a lot of people loved what he did with Blade Runner. Except the big thing I constantly hear about Blade Runner 2049 is just what a financial, it didn't make the money. It didn't do well.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of like high concept stuff normally doesn't really do well. I mean, that's not like a mark against it.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, Joe, I think you just take this position, and it's like the studio doesn't know. The studio doesn't add your name to the list and says, well, Joe Buckley watched it, time to make another sequel that nobody wants. I feel like you're robbing yourself of that experience, but I think it's indicative of just the larger problem here.
Well, Joe, and I do this too. I've been doing it for years with bands, and I do it with certain directors myself. It's you take it so personally. You love their work so much. You take it so personally. If somebody has
Ryan's going to come back so hot and sexy, right, Joe?
Yeah, and steamy and greasy and wet.
Sleep, and also at the same time trying to make it a sequel to the Kubrick film version. He did that balancing act. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, as much as you love Stanley Kubrick, as much as I love a lot of directors, as much as I may want to believe in the auteur theory, one man doesn't do it all. And there are a lot of people that worked on The Shining that have everything much to do with what you love about that movie that was not Stanley Kubrick. So there's a lot, it's not, he isn't the only thing that of The Shining. You know what I mean? And so the idea of just completely hate that this director made Dr. Sleep 30 years later, 40 years after.
Might as well dig it up. It's time.
I mean, I don't think he's doing a disrespect to Stanley Kubrick at all, any more than he's doing disrespect to Jack Nicholson or Shelley Duvall or any of the people that worked on that movie.
Well, I mean, Stanley Kubrick never made a sequel to any of his films when he was alive.
But Joe, I want you to consider this.
It doesn't matter.
Cinema has only been around for 120 years or whatever.
20, yeah, about 20,
okay.
30.
1894.
How do you think people are going to feel in 2301? Like, so many Star Wars is going to have been remade, the saga multiple times over. Like, you live in a very specific time.
Maybe it'll finally be entering public domain in that year.
Well, here's what I think you have. I think you have the first world problem of film watchers. Nobody's going to care about this argument in years to come, because so many things are going to have been made and remade over and over and over again. And sometimes, in the case of John Carpenter's The Thing, they will be better. And I know that The Thing is not a one-for-one remake.
It's a very, very loose remake, and it's based on a novel.
But Joe, it still is the same property. So somebody could interpret Stephen King's The Shining in a way that outshines Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I understand.
I think that would be a tough watch.
I think that would be.
That is a. Oh,
I think that would be.
I was gonna say that is a.
Go ahead.
I think we're on the 1 second delay, but I was gonna say that is a boring 3-hour TV miniseries.
But Joe,
you think the TV miniseries isn't the only version that could exist? The TV version, Joe, was hampered by about 1 million different things. If somebody actually was given the money, and they won't be, was given the money to do another, R-rated, faithful or as faithful as they can be adaptation of the novel, you'd be surprised how good a film it might end up being. It's not going to be the Kubrick version because Kubrick made his own movie with the bare bones of the book. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So you can't fault if somebody did an adaptation of the novel and they didn't have any of the shit that Kubrick made up from the book. You can't fault the new adaptation because it doesn't have the Kubrick stuff. Why would it?
Well, right. That would be much more palatable to me rather than lifting all of Kubrick's imagery and just redoing it again.
Joe,
I don't think anybody was going to do that. Dr. Sleep is trying to straddle both worlds because Mike Flanagan knows that the movie is so, such a piece of pop culture that he was trying to find a balance between adapting the book, which was a sequel to the book, not a sequel to the movie, obviously, but take that at the same time, make it a sequel to the Kubrick film as well, because it is so well known and it's part of, it would be really hard to advertise Dr. Sleep as the sequel to The Shining, which it is. It's not a sequel to Kubrick's The Shining. It is a sequel to The Shining, though. And to advertise that to your average Joe, no pun intended, who doesn't know shit about the Kubrick differences and they may only know the Kubrick version. They may not realize all the random made up stuff that had nothing to do with the book. So if they sit down and watch Dr. Sleep and they don't see that iconography from the Kubrick version, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? So I thought it's an ambitious as hell undertaking that Flanagan did. And I think Dr. Sleep, I think he was successful. I think he did it. I think he adapted with the book and made a sequel to the Kubrick version. He made it all work. I really think he did. And I don't know I don't know how else you would have done it better.
And I don't know how you can justify giving that film a hard time for, you love to say, lifting from Kubrick, as if Kubrick did all this monumental work and this guy just went to the Kubrick candy store and said, I'll take this, this, and this and put it in front of the camera. But filmmakers make careers off of doing that. That's Tarantino in a nutshell. Yeah. Like that's his whole thing. He's putting a different character in it, so it's not literally Danny Torrance again, but he loves to replicate shots, moods, music. He does it constantly. So how is it okay when he does it? But for this one filmmaker who, again, I don't think it's not out of disrespect. If anything, it's out of a ton of respect for Kubrick. So this is a fellow Kubrick head.
Yeah, and he's a great director.
Well, with Tarantino, what Tarantino does is he normally lifts like one element out of like a obscure to most people B movie. So like Lady Snowblood, most people wouldn't know what that is.
But that doesn't matter. Like, you can't say that because somebody doesn't know it, that justifies taking it. That doesn't matter. A lot of people haven't seen The Shining. I'm saying he doesn't take 10 things from Lady Snowblood. He takes one thing from Lady Snowblood. It doesn't matter, Joe. It's all or nothing. You can't just say, oh, you can do one thing here. That's an arbitrary rule that you're making up to justify your argument. I think
I'm trying to justify my feelings on the matter.
I think your feelings are invalid, personally.
What if Tarantino did that with a Kubrick bit? What if he took something that was inspired? And I love Tarantino, and I think what he does is great. But what if he took something from Kubrick, like he's done, taking stuff from Enzo Castellari and guys like that, and lifts those things and adds to them and makes them better in 99% of the cases. But if he did that with a Kubrick thing, would you admit
With one thing, I think it's okay. My issue would be if he tries to make his own little Full Metal Jacket and he lists 15 things from Full Metal Jacket.
What if he was doing a continuation of Full Metal Jacket You know what I'm saying? Because when we're
that would probably fall into boycott territory.
When we're talking about Dr. Sleep, it's not a ripoff. And because it's a sequel to the book that Kubrick used as the starting point for his movie. Without the book, there'd be no Kubrick movie called The Shining. So
then how can you disagree with Stephen King's position that he doesn't really necessarily like the adaptation or the interpretation that Kubrick did? Because that's the same thing you're saying. That's the same thing that you're saying, though. You're upset that this guy made something that seems like a spiritual sequel to the Kubrick film. How is that any different? Just because it's a different medium, it's still the same story in essence. Kubrick took it, made something that even the director doesn't necessarily appreciate. Or the writer doesn't appreciate.
I'm not watching it. I disagree with it, so I'm not watching it.
What would happen to you if you watched it?
Nothing would happen. You would have watched another movie. That's what would happen. I'm already hot.
I just don't understand what you're mad about, Joe, with Dr. Sleep. Knowing that it's a sequel
it seems sacrilegious is the issue.
Sacrilegious?
Because you're putting Shining on way too high a pedestal, Joe.
I think it belongs up there.
Well, and that's fine. And there's a lot of people that do, and there's just as many people that don't. And to get so worked up about something that was not an original Kubrick thing in the first place. Yes, he added to it, but he didn't create the recipe. He took the recipe from Grandma's box and added a bunch of shit that Grandma wouldn't have necessarily put in there, and he made a dish that everybody likes. But ultimately, without Grandma's recipe, there is no dish to begin with. So for all
he would have just made another movie if he didn't
have the right. So worked up about The Shining, which is an adaptation, regardless of how much he changed. It's still an adaptation of somebody else's IP. So of all the movies, I think that you wouldn't be that upset about somebody doing a sequel to. It would be something that he didn't generate the idea of in the first place, regardless of what
it's not like
added to the original story.
I'm not foaming at the mouth. I'm not going on the street to the sign. I'm just not watching it. I'm not interested.
But Joe, you get hot about it. Like you get bothered at the idea that we say it's worth a watch so you can at least understand it. Because you keep saying he lifted this, he lifted that, but you haven't seen the movie. And watching the trailer,
I've seen shots from the movie.
It doesn't matter.
And the shots have been lifted.
Okay, Ryan.
The shots have been lifted.
Ryan, Joe has.
That was the point. It was a sequel.
I understand that. I don't like that, so I'm not doing it.
It's called continuity. You know what I mean? It's not like he's ripping. It's not a rip-off. When you say lifting, you're using, in other words, i.e. rip-off. Mike Flanagan isn't ripping anything off by doing that. He had
the legal rights to do what he did. That's fine.
He's making creative continuity between the Kubrick movie. Like I've said, everyone understands the iconography and everyone remembers the blood and all that stuff. So it's really hard to make a sequel to the book, which has nothing to do with the Kubrick film, but the public always thinks of the Kubrick film when they think of The Shining. So you had to do something.
It's iconic.
You had to do something. They had to straddle that line. And so it wasn't ripping anything off. It was doing a creative continuity between the Kubrick film, which is what a lot of people are expecting to see because they don't know. Most people don't know, man. Unless you're a Stephen King fan or a specific Kubrick fan, or a hardcore horror fan that just has to know this stuff. Most people don't realize how much of the book is not in the movie and how much they don't know that Stephen King hated Kubrick. And most people don't give a fuck, man. We're trying to make commercial movies, which means we need everybody to come put their butt in that chair and see the movie. We don't want, I'll tell you this, if you make a movie for just the Kubrick fans and just the Stephen King fans, you are still losing out on a shit ton of money. There's still not enough, not to justify the millions of dollars that cost to make these studio movies and put them out there. You need to get everybody to see this movie, or as many people as you can. That is why it's a commercial film. Fandom, we've already seen, doesn't make money. Rabid fandom doesn't make the money. You're a rabid fan of Kubrick, and you haven't spent a goddamn cent on his estate. You haven't spent any.
I bought DVDs. I bought DVDs back in the day.
Well, maybe back in the day, but not in recent times. So what I'm saying is, it's a business, man. It's a business. Movies are a business. Music is a business. It's all a business. So you have to find, that's what makes an artist great, is if they can find that fine line between doing their vision and also getting asses in seats, which is another reason I put Kevin Feige so high over the years. He was able to actually go deep into the nerd stuff, deep into the fandom, and then create new fans out of people who don't give a flying fuck about comic books. He was able, with all of his stable of people and as a studio head, he was able to tap into that to the point where we had an Avengers movie. We've had a fucking Ant-Man movie, and they've been successful, but it's very difficult. So, for Mike Flanagan to make this work, he knew he was going to have to straddle that line. So I don't think there's anything sacrilegious about what he did, even if I was the most devoted Kubrick nut. And a funny thing is, a lot of the people that I know, either personally or I know through their podcasts or through their filmmaking work, they're filmmakers themselves, that love The Shining and they like to wear the fucking shirt that looks like the carpet, blah, 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 blah. Most of them were very pleased with Dr. Sleep. They didn't see it as sacrilegious. They saw it as, wow, that was really fucking cool. And they certainly, and even if they were skeptical, they at least watched the movie so they can have an informed opinion. You take it I'm just saying, you take it so personally that this man who you never met, this guy who probably wouldn't want to hang out because you'd start being filthy and Kubrick probably would have walked the fuck off. He might have been, he might have hated you or he might have loved you.
He at least liked Arlie. He liked Ermy.
Yeah, well, Arlie Ermy did good in that movie. I'll give him that. I'll give him that as far as Arlie Ermy's talent. But, you take it so personally. You've taken this Shining thing and this Dr. Sleep thing so personally. Yeah, you're not out there with a sign, but you're also making a point to everyone anytime this brings up how angry you are about Dr. Sleep and how terrible Dr. Sleep is. And I also have a feeling that if we ever presented you with another completely unrelated movie by Mike Flanagan, you'd immediately go in with shitty attitude because it's Mike Flanagan. He lifted ideas, ripped off Kubrick. And man, that ain't the way to go. Of all the filmmakers out there, to go against Mike Flanagan, who's just, he's trying to make good genre stuff. He's actually trying. He and Jordan Peele and guys like that are trying to.
Yeah, I know. He did Absentia.
Yeah, that's a great. It's a great movie. That's a great little low budget movie, and he's made a lot of great stuff. I think the guy's intensely talented, and if you listen to him in podcasts, he's just like you and me. He's just a dude, grew up going to video stores, likes horror movies. He's the least pretentious dude. And he's just commanding at this point such huge properties, and he's so well respected. He's a great success story, and he came out of the the low budget trenches with Absentia, where he was casting like his wife and his friends in major roles.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You just you have such a hatred toward this Dr. Sleep movie, and I think it's unwarranted. If you watch the movie and hate it,
maybe.
But Joe, you're not even willing to pursue that. That's what bothers me, is that you refuse. You can acknowledge that you could be wrong, but you don't actually want the truth. And I'm not saying that you have to watch it. I just wish that you would tone it down and just acknowledge that, like, we get it. You love The Shining. The Shining exists. No one can take that away from you. It will never go away. You can say all you want about what Kubrick might say or feel about this situation. He might love it, but you don't know. So why don't you make your own informed decision? That's what I would like for you in phase 2, is to make your own informed decision on the matter.
And I think, are you scared you might like it, Joe? And then you've got to backpedal all this, and or maybe even if you don't have to admit you like it, because no one will ever ask you. You watch it by yourself, no one ever knows, and you do end up liking it. Maybe you'll feel bad inside. You'll feel like you have to go to your Stanley Kubrick shrine and pray for forgiveness. Please, Mr. Kubrick, I'm sorry that I liked Dr. Sleep.
I just don't really. In the amount of like process it like occupies in my mind, I just see the title Dr. Sleep and I'm like, nope, no interest. That's really where I'm coming from with it. I'm just not interested in the slightest.
But that's not what you say. You say I'm boycotting it. You don't say I'm not interested. You say I'm not boycotting
gonna watch it.
Those are two different things.
Not because you're not interested. It's because you are angry that it exists. You're absolutely interested in it. It's quote unquote lifting Kubrick stuff. You're interested in this project. You've always been interested in this project. Every time we brought it up, you've gotten all worked up about it. So you have an interest in the project. You feel that not watching it is your duty because you feel like you're holding the candle up to Mr. Kubrick and you're defending him which was until recently, which was funny because you didn't hold the candle so high that you watched the rest of his shit. You know what I mean? So it was like for a dude that's what my whole argument with you has always been is how like ultimate fan you are of Kubrick for it to not, and how angry you get and to defending him and this and that, and then to still not really have seen everything he's done. It's just, I'm not used to that. I'm not used to running into, I'm used to people who are super huge fans of properties and they can tell you fucking everything about everything. That's why they're super fans. And for someone to be like, but then have not seen, at that point, a good third of his filmography. Yeah. But now you have.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's frightening. It's frightening.
We might as well get to the contradiction of the matter. All right. I almost I was going to blurt this out before I got interrupted because I was so hot at you, Joe.
Okay.
Mr.
Well,
Robert,
I'm just trying to do a fun podcast. I just want fun podcasts for the people.
No. We knew that's the way it was going to go, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. That way,
that's the fans why I wasn't told what the subject matter was beforehand, Joe.
Yeah, and the fans don't have to hear Plex after this. Hopefully, if we can come to some kind of resolution, and maybe that's you watching Dr. Sleep. Who knows, Joe? But anyways, Mr. Joseph Robert Buckley has 2,037 films on his Plex. Yes, some of these are short film collections that were released in some form or another, or it might be a short film itself. And in the rare occurrence, I believe there's like a music video in there that some director that Joe liked directed. But
yeah, I've got like a Jan Shankmeyer music video. So I've got like every one of his like shorts.
Okay.
So let's just say, for the sake of argument, we're talking about 2,037 films. The numbers will correlate accordingly, even though there might be 20 or 30 things that are just really aren't like a feature film. Joe has watched a total. Actually, Ryan, how many do you think Joe has watched out of 2,037 films?
I'm not sure what the software will tell, but I know in my heart of hearts that he's watched.
This is what Joe and I went through. We went through every single film, and he told me honestly,
it was a
I will
process.
give him credit.
It was a process.
And you watched it from I'm talking beginning from end, Joe. You didn't just watch 20 minutes.
Yeah, 100%.
Almost all of it, because you said you finished. Which Kubrick movie did you not finish?
Well, but I didn't count that in my, because I only did everything. I was watching Fear and Desire as like a bonus thing for me. That wasn't part of the process.
All right, so these are movies you watched, top to bottom.
Yes,
and
that was part of the stipulation when we were doing it.
Out of 2,073.
2,337.
Okay. I'd say he's watched maybe
your best educated guess. You've known Mr. Buckley for about 4 or 5 years now.
I'd say maybe 320.
Ryan, 326.
Holy shit, for real?
Yes, 326.
Wow.
You're like a genie.
Wow.
You do know Joe quite well. So that is proof in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen. The man with brain, it truly does understand the man with no brain. Ryan, that is a total of almost exactly 16% of the entire film collection he has.
Yeah. And that's, that's what we've been saying, is that he doesn't watch most of the stuff he downloads. And I'm surprised it's as high as it was, because my initial thing was going to be 150.
50 movies.
And because I also have to think, you're downloading maybe movies that you haven't watched in years, but you saw that it was available. You remember watching it when you were 11 and you're like, that one's okay. And you just like to own it. So I was trying to think of all of that stuff. I'm thinking in general, you haven't seen more than 400 movies in your life. I would say the most new movies you've watched in the last 2 years are because of Malevolent Movies.
Wait, do you mean new as in your release date, or new as in new to you?
New to you.
Yeah, you don't watch anything brand new. You don't watch anything brand new.
I just saw The Green Knight in theaters. I liked that.
Oh, okay.
Joe,
well,
I don't think you liked it, and it's okay to say you didn't like it.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
No, I did like it. I did like it. It was a treat for the eyes.
This was, that's what he said. Okay, so here was the exchange that Joe and I had. We were just chit-chatting online. I think it was when we were doing this, actually. And he mentioned, oh, hey, I saw The Green Knight with Ted in the theater. And I'm like, oh, what did you think? It was all right. I'm like, oh, okay. I've been reading.
No, I said I liked it.
No, you said it was all right. And I said, because I remember saying, I didn't jump down your throat. I remember saying, I've been reading that while it's visually stunning, it's quite a, slow story. So you either connect with it or you don't. And then you were kind of like, well, yes. Well, no, there's this and like yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I could just tell you were forcing it. Because Joe, much like Kubrick, A24 is Joe's new gem. That was the new diamond mine that was opened up, and so Joe loves A24.
I'm surprised you love A24 as much as you do.
Well, I like slow cinema.
Yeah, but it's
I don't
not
mind
all
slow. I mean, I don't mind slow.
We know you don't, but Joe, I don't think you like the Green Knight as much as you claim.
It's the trendiest right now. It's very trendy. I mean, to the point where Blu-ray collectors are now talking about their A24 collections. It used to be your Arrow collection. It was by label. Now it's by studio. And I haven't seen a lot of that. I haven't seen a lot of people do that with studios in the collecting world. So, and a lot of the A24 movies I've seen, I've liked quite a bit. So I have nothing. I'm not one of these A24 haters. There is an entire group of people out there that will boycott anything that's A24. They think it's the end of horror. I'm not one of those people.
It's post-tour.
You know.
Yeah.
But they're not.
No, A24.
It's a misnomer. They're not all horror.
No, yeah, they do a wide variety of stuff.
They did Moonlight. They won the Oscar for Moonlight. That was A24.
Yeah, they did Spring Breakers.
Their horror movies tend to get a lot of press because their horror movies have been very good and you know, and Hereditary and stuff like that.
I mean, they did The Disaster Artist, like they did Tusk.
They did Uncut Gems, Joe, by the way. I'm pretty sure.
I know they did. Yeah.
They did Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
so A24 is for the home Adam Sandler. There it is.
Okay.
And Joe, like, there's nothing wrong because again, I'm going to stick to it. I do not believe that you like. I think that you thought The Green Knight was fine. I don't think you actually really enjoyed it, and that's fine. And I wish that you would have the balls to stand up for yourself and say stuff. Whether if it's not The Green Knight, there's something else out there that I'm sure you laud, but truly inside you were bored or didn't finish it. I never wanted to admit I enjoyed The Mandalorian. Those first 3 episodes of season 1. I really enjoyed. But after that point, anytime I talked about it, the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, this is just fan service. I'm not enjoying this. It's not even like Monster of the Week style, like Star Trek or something, which is what people I think are trying to cover up for it. Say is that, it's not supposed to be like it's like its own contained story every episode. And I'm like, no, it's a fucking mess. The plot in my mind.
Soulless.
And you know what? I have to justify myself to my good friends, Zach and Trevor, who love the Star Wars. And it's like, I knew if I announced it, I'm going to have to justify it. But that's just how I feel. And that's okay. And they like it. And that's okay. So it's okay to have a difference of opinion on stuff. There's a lot of stuff I'm watching these days that I'm really not enjoying because I don't think that I feel like it's things made by committee. And I'm not enjoying it. Whereas the fans are loving it because they're getting that ejection straight into their vein. And so it's like, I don't feel like I'm a pioneer by saying, I don't like that. But I just have a weighed and measured response. And then that's the end of it. I don't go to bed and I, like you said, foam at the mouth. It exists. It's out there. But I'm not gonna.
Next? What's next? Are they going to do another 2001? Are they going to do 2022 right after 2010?
Exactly. So, Ryan, I have some further statistics for you.
Okay. I'm excited.
Another very damning thing in here. So I'm going to share with you the top 4 countries on Joe's Plex and the data associated within.
Oh, Japan's got to be number 1.
Number 1 is the U.S.
Oh, okay.
857 films, 208 viewed. That's about 24.27% total. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this is where it hurt going through the list with Joe. It was very, very hard to go through this. This is in relation to lauded and I'm not saying like how people love Hubie Halloween, but critically and in most cases, financially successful films. Mm-hmm. Here's just a list of films that Joe has not seen.
Okay.
And this is the U.S. list. Okay, most of Alfred Hitchcock. Almost all of Alfred Hitchcock.
I've seen like 5 or 6 Hitchcocks.
He has seen the mainstays.
Super big titles, I'm sure.
North
Psycho,
by Northwest, Psycho, Rear Window. Birds is not on that list.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm surprised by that.
He has not seen, as far as I can tell from this list, nothing by Brian De Palma.
God damn, Joe. Seriously? You haven't seen Scarface or Dressed to Kill or Phantom of the Paradise or Body Double?
No,
I haven't seen those 4.
I think Ryan just dipped out. Ryan, are you there? Okay. Well, we'll let him come back with his rage.
Okay.
How are you, Joe?
it's a process, but I'm doing fine.
I probably should have written down, don't mention
back.
Dr. Sleep. Okay. So yes, Joe has not seen any of the Brian De Palma films.
That is getting me hot. That's a crime, Joe.
Here's the list.
Okay.
Blowout, Dress to Kill, Greetings, Hi Mom, Murder a la Mode, Phantom of the Paradise, Raising Cain, Director's Cut, Scarface Sisters.
What's interesting though is of those he's downloaded, his short films and his student films as well.
Yeah, I've got most of his collection.
But you haven't watched any of them, and I'm surprised you haven't
not yet
fallen across a Brian De Palma movie in your life, like just on TV, to not have seen any De Palma. Or is this you haven't seen any of the De Palma in your collection? Have you seen a Brian De Palma movie in your lifetime?
I mean, I'd have to look, but I don't believe so.
It's okay.
Wow.
Well,
Carrie. I've seen Carrie, but I don't have Carrie in the Plex.
All right. Well, at least you've seen Carrie, but
Joe has not seen any Charlie Kaufman films.
No, I have. I absolutely have. I saw Audition.
I have 3 on this list. Well, okay, according to the Plex
Audition
list.
is not directed by Charlie Kaufman. That's why.
Okay, but I'm saying directed by Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah, directed by.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of anything Synecdoche, New York, and Anomalisa? Is that how you say it?
Anomalisa.
Yeah. Anomalisa.
And there should also be Eternal Sunshine. And let me think. I think there's one other.
Is
one.
that a co-direct by him?
It could be.
Okay, because I don't think you saw that.
With Charlie Kaufman, I go by written by.
Did he direct or did he just write? There's a movie that I know he was involved in. It was early 2000s.
Is it an adaptation?
No. It wasn't as big as that. It wasn't an Oscar winner or anything. It's got Miranda Otto in it from Lord of the Rings. I want to say Rhys Ifans is in it. I can't think of the title of it. But
I'm going.
I don't know if he directed it or wrote it only.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
No, that was
okay.
George Clooney directed that. God, it's about some about animals. I remember it's about. I've watched it.
It's called Human Nature. He wrote that.
Okay, you just wrote it. All right, I knew it. I've seen it once, and it pops into my brain every now and again. Just the idea that I was like, I always think, what the fuck was that movie with? Okay.
Joe has not seen Pie or Black Swan by Darren Aronofsky. Okay, here was a big one for me. This was very upsetting, and it almost led to an argument in the moment.
Okay.
There are 5 films by a certain individual, of which Joe has only seen once. David Cronenberg. He saw The Fly.
Joe. Okay. What about Videodrome?
Well, I've seen Videodrome.
Okay. Because you've name dropped Videodrome anytime. It's Fly, but man, I'm telling you, Joe, there's so many. You are missing out on so much stuff that I know you'll fucking love with Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Joe has not seen.
Watch The Brood. You'll love The Brood. It's weird.
I've seen The Brood. I have seen The Brood. I like it.
Joe has not seen. He has, let's see, by David Fincher, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Game, Gone Girl, Mank, and have you seen 7?
I've seen 7, yeah.
Okay, well, you only have the open matte version. Ryan, Joe has not seen a single open matte version film on his Plex.
I don't. Yeah, and again, I don't see this open matte thing. To me is a waste of time. Like I've said, if you,
it just seems interesting.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing if you're a cinematographer and you're trying to. Otherwise, I have no desire to see the open matte of some. I don't want to see what the director didn't intend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And plus the open matte. I've seen a lot of open matte stuff now that I realized once I learned this shit in high school. I was watching Reservoir Dogs on. I remember when I had Reservoir Dogs on VHS, and then I bought the widescreen version of Reservoir Dogs when I was a senior in high school.
Yeah, and you were like, "Hey, where's all the picture?"
I noticed, especially in the opening diner scene, the when Joe Cabot stands up, and he's bitching about nobody's put in the right amount of tip. Keitel's face is. I was used to seeing Keitel's face that he makes there, and I'm like, it's blocked out. And then again, I'm an old man, so pre-internet. It was a while before I realized why, and then it was open matte. And
Ryan, I apologize.
I don't see the point of watching unless you're a cinematographer and you're really trying to study something. I don't see the entertainment value anyway. But that's just me.
Ryan, I apologize. I was only using the U.S. list for these directors, but obviously some of these directors.
Stuff.
have made for other countries. So David Cronenberg, I was like, there's something missing in the David Cronenberg list. Naked fucking Lunch. Naked Lunch. Joe has mentioned a Naked Lunch since the day I met him and has not watched it. A Dangerous Method, Eastern Promises. I was going to say, because there's some of the Cronenberg stuff maybe under Canada, like his early movie Shivers and stuff. Those were okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now I'm going off the full list. But Joe, this just makes it worse. David Fincher. Okay. I've
seen a lot of Fincher.
Oh, sorry. Nope. I just went through that. My apologies. Okay. Has not seen any of Denis Villeneuve movies. I'm assuming, have you seen 2049 or no?
No.
Okay. He has not. Okay. Oh, wait. There was somebody big in here. That I just passed. Okay.
Well, I don't expect Joe to have seen any of the big directors.
Okay.
That even if he has them in there, he's not.
This is one I take personally. One of my favorite director duos of all time, Joel and Ethan Coen.
My favorites.
These are the lists of movies that he has on here, but has not seen: The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Burn After Reading, Hail Caesar, Inside Llewyn Davis, and A Serious Man. Now, I would give you credit for a couple of these because they're not their best films, at least.
I really liked Blood Simple. I thought that was a fantastic first
But you don't have it on here. There's so many.
I do have it on there. It's in the Criterion Collection.
Why wouldn't it be listed under? Why wouldn't it be listed under them?
I have no idea what the software did, but I have it on here. It's in the Criterion Collection.
Okay, so maybe there's stuff that are in collections that aren't on here, so the list is even longer and probably more sad.
But I'm going to go ahead and say, Joe may have a lot of stuff in there from great directors, but I know he's not going to have watched most of those. But, let's,
Apocalypse Now, Godfather 2 and 3, not seen.
No, I know Joe hasn't seen any of that shit.
I've seen Godfather 1, I really like that.
I don't understand it because those are the things that Joe that are lauded, and these are the things that are put on such high pedestals. And I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't have seen these
from Gaspar Noé, if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, it's either that or...
Yes.
Joe has not seen Mad Max Fury Road, one of the highest rated films of the last 10 years.
Fucking masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece, Joe.
But Joe has seen Hellboy 1 and 2 by Guillermo del Toro.
Which, you know what? I'm not going to, I've seen them too. I mean, but in most cases, I'd be like, you should see all of them. You should be sitting there enjoying Hal Ashby movies. And it's okay to then turn around and like Hellboy 2. It's all cinema, man. And it all scratches a different itch. It's all good. They're not, every movie's good, but I mean, this idea of genre, identification, like the horror family takes care of each other. If I don't know you, don't put me in any group just because we like the same movies, man. That's what I'm saying. You can like all genres, but there's nothing wrong with liking some silly ass Fast and Furious shit. And that doesn't mean you can't turn right around and expound on how fantastic Hitchcock is. It's all movies, man. It's all good. They all scratch.
There's more than plot. Like, you don't have to. It seems like most of the movies you love it because the plot connects with you. But then there's also critical filmmaking and all this stuff around it. Like for Ryan, and I would assume, or for myself, and I would assume Ryan, like the Fast and the Furious movies, it's fun because it's dumb. Like they took it very seriously for the first 2, maybe 3. But at that point, they kind of realized, well, we have a property here that we could do something interesting with. And they did. And they just keep pushing the button in a very weird way. And that's what makes it interesting. Like, I prefer that any day over the Transformer movies, which take themselves far too seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shit on those. It's fine if people like the Transformers movies. I'm not one of those people. But you have also not seen, according to this list, any Gus Van Sant movies.
No, wait, Gus Van
Gus Van Sant, yes, you know him. Yes. You know him as the guy who remade Psycho.
Well, and Joe, you mentioned Spring Breakers in this podcast. I have several films by Harmony Korine. Gummo, you have seen. The Beach Bum, Julian Donkey Boy, Mr. Lonely, Spring Breakers, and Trash Humpers. You have not seen. I've seen Trash Humpers. I've seen Trash Humpers.
Spring Breakers. I've only seen Spring Breakers. Of that list. I
think you would like Gummo.
Gummo and maybe, but I associate, and this is unfair to the movie, and I'm going to say that right away, but I associate Gummo with a lot of people I don't like. A lot of people that I don't like have touted that movie, so I've been like,
So like Joe.
Well, not Joe so much, but I mean, through my life, some of the biggest dipshits I've ever known that have like brought up that movie, and so I've often just like, it has a bad association, and because it's not something I'm dying to see anyway, I haven't seen it. Maybe that's unfair to the film, maybe I should watch it sometime, but
yeah. Well, I mean, you've got a list as well. I mean, everybody's got a list of things they should watch.
But that's the reason I haven't. It's not necessarily the film's fault or the director's fault.
Okay, we have 16 projects by Lars von Trier. Joe has seen 2. I don't know how Joe has not seen Antichrist. That seems like a Joe movie if I've ever fucking seen one.
Yep.
And nothing. He has seen The House That Jack Built, which I remember vividly taking you.
The arguments about that?
That took 2 weeks for Joe to watch, and then The Idiots.
I really like The Idiots. I thought The Idiots is fantastic.
Why not Nymphomaniac? Lots of boobies, Joe.
You referenced that on some stupid. What was it? Was it on your thing with? It's on your thing with Tad, where you guys are pretending to know about relationships, and the bit goes on forever. You talked about Nymphomaniac on that. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, I know of it. I
know, but the idea is it's there's a part of me that I see that as dishonesty, because when you name drop a movie, when you name drop a band, to me, it's not really an endorsement, but I feel that I'm listening to a podcast and somebody casually throws out a reference to fucking, I don't know, It's Alive. I assume that they've seen It's Alive. And then I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll watch that because that guy likes it and I like his podcast, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you throw out these references, you may not even doing the references right. And you got people that think, oh, Nymphomaniac, that's a Joe-approved thing. And it might not, and if you're misrepresenting yourself there. I'm sorry, I thought you were Nymphomaniac. Even I thought you had.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and Joe, you know that's what you're presenting. You know that's what you're presenting. Because if you talk about something as if you know it, that's equally as implying that you've seen it. And so you know what you're doing, and I think that I don't think you're going to disagree with me. I think you know that. So why do you want to project that and yet not see it?
You want the street cred. The cred is more important to you than the actual watching the movies. It's the cred.
No. I have a list. I have a list of films to watch. I bet, and it's a long list. It's a long list.
Come on, man.
Your reference might be so off, though. Your reference, you when you use a movie to reference something, you may be completely off because you think the movie's about one thing.
I could be. Yeah.
And so the people that do know are like, oh, that dummy's just trying to name drop here. What an asshole. I'm turning this off. Never again. Unsubscribe.
Yeah. I hate Joe Buckley.
Joe, I took my first work call today at 5:45 a.m. and I was at my office desk until 5 p.m. today. I got home. Lisa made me a PB&J, and I had some watermelon and crackers. And I downed that shit, came down here to get prepared. I'm doing this, and I fully plan on watching 7 Stages to Achieve Eternal Bliss tonight. And I will watch it. So you can't tell me that you've got this miraculous list that one day you'll watch when you have not seen Raging Bull, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Irishman, The Departed, Cape Fear, The Aviator.
Well, I've seen some Scorsese though.
That doesn't mean anything, Joe. Like, yes, you've seen Casino, Gangs of New York, Goodfellas, etc. Like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, great. But you also, I mean, you don't bring up Scorsese as much as you do other people. I will admit that. But he has such a vast filmography that is, for the most part, full of hits. You know, there's plenty to be seen here, buddy.
And this wouldn't matter to me.
I understand.
And none of this would matter to me. If you're listening and you haven't seen any of these movies, that's fine. I don't care. Because you know what? You're also not hitting me over the head all the time with how great these fucking guys are and how they're so much better than everybody else and all the time. But Joe is doing that. And then when it turns out he doesn't know shit about these guys, he doesn't know any more about Scorsese than he knows about Sandler. That's what taps my asshole. That's what it is. It's not that you haven't seen this and we're going, oh my God, you haven't seen Raging Bull. Holy shit. It's not that. A lot of people haven't seen, my family has probably fucking seen Raging Bull. That's fine. It doesn't appeal to them. We're saying because Joe fucking champions this auteur theory hardcore and this, I don't watch commercial filmmaking. It is Scorsese. And he's learned how to say Scorsese instead of Scorsese. He's learned the proper way. Scorsese. Yeah. He goes that far.
The letterbox way.
But then to actually watch the fucking movies, So that's what I mean. It's like it's all pose. It's posing. It's all a pose. Joe is that guy with the punk shirt and the punk hat and the punk hair at the punk show who doesn't even know what fucking band he's looking at, but he's gonna be like,
"Oh, I'm a punk. I'm a natural punk.
I got their fucking 6-inch. Yeah.
So one of the directors I would have assumed Joe has seen stuff from, because it's kind of that avant-garde, out there stuff like Gummo, but slightly more polished. Quentin Dupieux. Joe has not seen any of his movies, and that I was surprised by. I've seen Rubber and Wrong Cops, and I enjoyed those movies. And they're bizarre, and as Joe would say, I enjoyed them for what they were.
I mean, I'm from him. I'm real interested in. It's like one where basically somebody has to make like a genuine scream of pain, and if they can do it, they get like $1 million to make their movie or whatever. Oh, it's called Reality.
You're interested in that?
Yeah, interested.
Yeah.
Is it available to see right now?
Like I have it on my Plex.
On the Plex.
So if you're interested in it, Joe, and I'm squeezing my A&W root beer bottle, which is now empty, so I'm squeezing it real hard. I got the cap on it, so there's pressure. I'm squeezing it like a fucking weight because I'm trying not to yell. If you're interested, don't be interested in any more of this shit. Just watch it. I'm real interested in. No, you're not, because you haven't watched it.
Well, it's on the list. It's on the
watch
list.
It.
Joe.
Watch
no,
it
Joe.
watch
there's no list.
The show's over.
There's no list. If you
fucking end it.
It's like me talking about my fourth film. There's no fucking fourth film. Every couple months, and it gets further and further apart. For the first 3 years after Butcher the Bakers, I was constantly talking, having meetings, getting people together. There's no fourth film. That doesn't mean that there won't ever be a fourth film, but there's no fourth film until there's a fourth full script. All right. Exactly. And that's a reality I had to face a couple years ago. And it was a hard pill to swallow, that I may not have anything else to contribute to the world of cinema. So when you talk about this list, it means nothing if you're not following through. So if you told me I've got a list of movies and I'm going to knock out one a day or one a week until the end of time, and you actually did it for like a month or 2 months or a year, I'd be like, dude, that's the fucking list. But Joe has not seen several films by Terry Gilliam: The Adventures of Blair and Munchausen, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, The Fisher King, Jabberwocky, 12 Monkeys.
You just want to take a bite out of me.
But any chance you get, Joe Buckley, any chance you get, and the listeners to The Man with No Brain and whatever crap Joe has been bubbling on other shows, Joe finds a way to shove Brazil up your ass and my ass any motherfucking chance he gets.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes you think, he's Brazil. A big Gilliam. He's a big Gilliam fan, but he's not. He's a Brazil fan, and that's fine. But it's a false representation. With how hard you hammer Brazil, one would assume you're a Terry Gilliam fan.
Zero.
Well, I
Zero
watched
Werner Herzog
Brazil.
films. Zero Werner Herzog films.
No Herzog, Joe?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, are you familiar with Werner Herzog? Do you know who he is?
I've got
very familiar. Yeah. I have all of them on my Plex.
Oh, I know who he is. Like, he's offended that, but you don't know anything about him other than what you know, his name, and you've got his direct, some of his movies downloaded. You would like some of his films, Joe. I would recommend watching A Burden of Dreams, the brilliant documentary about him trying to make Fitzcarraldo, and then watch Fitzcarraldo. Watch them together.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's incredible. Burden of Dreams, the documentary. It's about him making that movie, and Klaus Kinski's going nuts, and they're trying to move this big fucking boat, and it's needs to be seen to be believed. I think you'd appreciate that.
Isle of Dogs, Moonrise Kingdom, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Darjeeling Limited, Bottle Rocket, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou has not been seen.
Yeah, but I've seen a couple Wes Andersons.
But Joe knows Wes Anderson's somebody that's worth noting, so he's downloaded his stuff. Yeah. But Joe will never know about his stuff.
Well, here's the thing with my Plex. I mean, I'm basically
here's
trying
the
to
thing.
make
I just download shit that I'm told to by the internet.
No. But I'm trying to make a giant library of like everything that I think I could be interested.
Yeah, I know.
Someday.
I know we covered this, and it still makes no sense to me that you still haven't watched any of them. When is this interest going to kick in? What's the point of having a library if it's always going to be? If it's going to be locked for the rest of your life, it's like, I got a library over there, I can't get in it. Like, what's the point of ownership if you're not going to watch it?
Okay, sorry, that made me laugh.
Yeah. I've watched some of it.
Or again. We've covered this. Kubrick himself hasn't done more takes of anything in his career than we've done of you with trying to figure the Plex out. So I'm not gonna tread that well-worn ground with you, Buckley.
7 Dracula films, none viewed.
It's most of the Hammer ones then, Joe?
I got everything. I got all the Universals. I got all the Hammer.
You didn't get everything if there's 7.
He's never seen
there's
any
a
of
hell
them.
fucking lot more than that.
No, there's more on my Plex. The list is just messed
Ryan,
up. You
want to know what's even more upsetting? 27 Godzilla films, 15 Gamera films, none viewed. Joe has never seen a Godzilla movie.
No, yeah, and he just recently downloaded probably most of the new Arrow.
Yeah, all the Criterion rips and the Arrow Gamera.
Criterion of Godzilla and the Arrow of Gamera. And those have also now, all those new versions have also now hit Amazon. So,
okay, so
Amazon Prime, if anyone's interested.
Yeah, you can check them out.
Here's an interesting bit of information. So, the USA was the most. Again, just to remind the fans, we had 857 films, 208 viewed at 24.27%. In 4th place, there's many other countries which are close, like France, Italy, and stuff like that, most of which Joe has not seen. But 68 Canadian films, 18 viewed at 26.47%. In 3rd place, the United Kingdom, 186 films, 32 viewed, 17.2%. And here is the interesting, for me, one of the most damning things. 375 Japanese films. Japan is second to the US, 14 viewed, 3.73%.
I'm not surprised that they haven't been watched. Joe is
again, just having all the Godzillas and Gameras pumps that number too. That's an additional 50 films.
But they're in here, Joe. They're in here. So if this isn't the list, then what is?
Well, with like big series, I download the entirety of like the series.
I know you do.
And then
what's the list?
On the list, I would have I'll watch Godzilla 1, and then if I like Godzilla 1, maybe I'll watch Godzilla Raids, and then maybe I'll watch...
Where is the list? Where's the list?
I don't have an organized list.
Exactly. So there is no list. So you can't call it a list.
It's a list in my head. It's like a list in my kind of head.
It's that tab at the bar that the barfly has that he knows, everyone knows he'll never pay. That's the list in Joe's head. It's this ethereal thing that he says exists, but does it really? Every now and again you think, I'd like to watch Godzilla. And then you move on, and that thought doesn't pop in again for weeks. But that's the list. That's the list. It's like the knock list in Brian De Palma's Mission Impossible, which I haven't seen.
Yeah. So, Joe, have you put any thought into, because you knew this was coming, and you knew that there was good. I wish I'd written down, don't talk about Dr. Sleep. I stepped in the bear trap. That's my fault, but I'm glad that I was able to drag you both into it. Anyways,
I still wanted to do commentary for that.
You knew we were going to talk about it. Okay. So what was your thinking? Did you do any introspection? Did you try and put any thought behind, why do I have this library? Why don't I get to the quote unquote list? Did you put any thought into it?
No, I mean, I just kind of formulated like a defense of
a defense. Back on the trial.
Yeah.
Joe lives like a stray cat. He's always on the defense.
Because my library is definitely it's expanded by a lot of big kind of it's like a big library. It's a really big library. I'm basically trying to collect everything, everything that kind of floats my boat and just put it all in one big library. So I've got access to it anytime I want.
We totally understand that, but it's the thing that you don't access it. That's the thing, is you have it with what you claim is the intent to view it, and you don't watch it. But also I want to point out, now I know that there's more than these 2,037. I'm pretty sure, like what you were saying, that there's a good chance that anything that you put in a specific collection may not also appear in the overall movie list. So,
because these are movies, we're just talking about, because I know he has TV shows. I saw he downloaded a bunch of
I got TV shows. I got documentaries.
He just downloaded a bunch of Rick and Morty shows.
Now, for having
new season coming out,
for having what you said, Joe, you like to tout this massive list. Joe, I have not well over. I probably have just over 1,000 movies and like 140 shows on my Plex. I have seen almost all of it. I have not seen 5 movies, and I have not seen 3 shows, 2 of which I got from my dad and brother. But I've been meaning to watch Carnival Row. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm interested in it. I just like weird worlds where there's, monsters and fairies living along human beings. So I don't expect to enjoy it, but I feel like I want to see it. So, but like, I'm kind of like a more than average viewer. I watch a lot of stuff. And I'm interested in cinema, but there are people out there who just sit on their fucking couch every day after work and all they do is consume. Mm-hmm. They don't have a Plex, but they have watched thousands and thousands of movies and hours of TV shows more than you. So like that's again, it just doesn't connect. It's like a Venn diagram where you're like, I'm the film guy, but like what your bubble's over there. Like you're not crossing the streams with all the other people who are watching the content. And so it's like, I just want you to put it into perspective that one, it's okay. It's okay to not want to watch all this stuff. If you're not actually that interested in viewing it and you're more interested in collecting it, that's fine. But that's not the image you project. You project that image of it's on the list. I'm coming around to it. But again, it's usually project oriented that makes you watch those things. Yeah. So that's what I'm interested in. Is I just wish you would spend a little bit more time wondering why that is. Why do you do that? You don't have to answer it right now.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I've always been a collector. So,
hey, I think maybe Joe, you have a future in library sciences. There is a guy on YouTube, and he is a hardcore archivist, the video archivist. He makes videos about VHS. He's slowed down a lot over the years, but he began this website, VHS Archives, and his goal was to scan every single VHS cover that exists that he could. And if you want to find a VHS cover, you know, let's say there's 17 different versions of Shivers that exist, you will find them or most of them on his website. But this interest, from what I gather, I don't know him personally, what I gather from his YouTube stuff is that this became such a thing that it all started because of love of horror. That's what it started for. And then it turned into this thing. I'm pretty sure he went to college for art and studied archiving, and he works for libraries, and he's a library scientist or something. And this is what he does now. He collects and archives things for a living, not movies necessarily, I don't believe, but it led to a career because he realized he likes this sort of accumulating these things, archiving these things. And you like to say you archive. So maybe there is a future career for you in something like this. Maybe it'll extend beyond. Maybe it extends beyond like it did for this guy. It started with what you like, but then it turned into, you realize it's not just movies. You like the actual accumulation. You like the archiving. Maybe the content, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's
I love making spreadsheets. Both for our projects, for work. I enjoy spreadsheets. I like having organized information.
Yeah. And so and that sort of thing, Joe. So I don't know, maybe this desire you have is not really about the content, because I don't feel the content is as important to you. I believe that right now the content is the theme. I think what you like is the accumulation, the getting it, the hunting it down and getting it. And if you moved on to music, let's say, maybe all of a sudden you became a part of these music things and you were downloading these. I got to find this old demo from this old country Western guy that recorded one thing one time, and just to get the file and be able to share it with other people. And I part of me thinks it's not even what you're downloading, and it's the fact that you're enjoying this archiving of something. Because what you're archiving, you're not watching. So I don't believe you. It's the content. It's like the hunt. Like you said in the one episode, it's more about the hunt. So maybe what is it about the hunt that you like? And could you put that to anything, not just downloading movies? Maybe the hunt could be this. Maybe, Joe, you're a fucking paleontologist and we don't realize it. Maybe you could be out there digging for fossils. I don't know. But maybe there's something here that the movies matter not. It has fucking nothing to do with what you're downloading. It's just this fucking need you have to get it.
Yeah. Bob Buckley's just yelling at me because I dug up his maters to try to find dino bones.
I'm just trying to find something here that, because I'm starting to think it's less about the content you're downloading and more about the activity of it. Because
is there a chance
you're not watching any of it, so I don't think you really care about the content. You want to get the content for what it means, but you're not getting the content for the content.
Because, like, what is it about and I feel like we kind of touched on this already, so I don't want to retread ground. Do you have any communities online in which you discuss either what films mean to people, what your actual rating, or the collection of them? Are there any communities? You don't have to tell us what they are, but are there communities that you participate in where you actively chat about those areas?
I mean, I used to be on the IMDb forums, and they shut those down like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't believe anything really currently. I'll browse like the Criterion forums or the Twin Peaks forums.
Well, I tell you, you could go to Blu-ray.com. You'd have to, and the forums there, you can pick and you can argue about films, you can argue about directors, you can argue about labels, you can argue about home video. I spend some time there over the years, and that's a good place to talk about collecting. These guys are collecting physical media, but the idea of collecting, of getting it, most of these guys are watching it, because then they all talk about, you can tell they watched it because they're talking about how it looks. But in certain parts of the movie where something drops out, then they freak out.
So, Joe, you don't have any interest in participating in that aspect of it, I'm guessing, because there are multiple places online. Like, so through my plexing, I've learned that people don't really like the TV database people because they tend to be sticklers about arbitrary things.
It's a pain.
Yeah, there's the movie database. There's, like Ryan said, the Blu-ray, is it Blu-ray.com or whatever?
Blu-ray.com, yeah.
What is it? That commentary site where people rate commentaries. There's all these places where people are talking about, hey, these are pop culture entertainment pieces, but it's a fairly niche audience that's consuming that specific information. And I don't think you're actually interested in discussing this with any of them. Is that accurate?
I like reading. I don't like typing up little arguments with people. I just like reading what other people say. Like,
are you doing that? Have you been doing it?
Yeah, I'm 23 pages into the Criterion forums of the world of Wong Kar-wai. I'm trying to figure out what versions to get, because they fucked the color timing of this new set, and he went back in and re-edited some of it.
Why do you care so much about the nitty-gritty of the presentation of a film you may never watch?
Well, I mean, because I would have the correct version in the case I would like to watch it.
Well, that's also
it's
subjective.
The archiving. It's he wants to have the correct, and you're getting, when you start talking about that, and the same thing with your Plex downloading of the Hammer films. Man, when it comes to the Hammer films, especially the Dracula films and the Frankenstein films, there are a lot of different presentations. There are a lot of different aspect ratios. There's the British aspect. And you go crazy trying to find the 100% accurate one. Scream Factory is the accurate one. Oh, they give you two options. They give you the 166.1 version, or you can watch the 185.1 version. So anyway, it's the idea of just ownership. Again, it comes down to the ownership. When I buy Hammer stuff, I was real interested. I was like, well, shit, if Warner Brothers putting out the fucking one that's matted weird, I don't really want that one. But if that's the only one I'm going to get it, because I still want to have the movie and watch it, because I loved watching these movies, and I will just resign myself. But I'm going to watch them. With the Wong Kar-wai thing, again, it comes down to, you want you're waiting to download. You're waiting to download the version that's correct, that ends up having the right color timing. If there was a mistake on Criterion's part, which happens, Arrow has often issues with color timing, and they send replacement discs. But part of me is like, well, you're not gonna. I don't know. Again, I just think it's the ownership. I don't think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. You just want to have it in your collection. It's like God, what movie? Well, I mean, Citizen Kane. Fucking A. It's like Charles Foster Kane. He bought all these art pieces. He'd buy all of these paintings, and they'd be in storage. He never look at them, but he wanted to own them. He wasn't buying because he loved them. He might like them. He had a passing interest in art. That's how he knew about them in the first place. But he fucking had to have everything. He had a storage place filled, with these art pieces that he's buying, and they're not displayed. They're wrapped up in parchment paper and they're put into storage. And when he dies, that's all that shit that he never looked at and nobody was looking at because he owned it, but he had to fucking have it, you know? So I don't know. Maybe that's Joe is just Charles Foster Kane, everybody. That's really what it comes down to, which is a coincidence because this week it was announced that Criterion is their very first 4K release.
Finally doing 4K
is going to be Citizen Kane. And so what a coincidence.
And Mulholland Drive, we're getting David Lynch 4K.
So there you go. All full circle. Joe can't wait to fucking download it. And now
Oh boy.
I was a big fan of Inland Empire. I thought that was fantastic.
I'm sure you did, Joe.
Great.
Like, I mean, I'm sure you would be a fan of most of these movies on this list. Yeah. But also, I don't think you're here's what I'm going to guess. If we cross-reference this list as it is now to 10 years from now, anything on this list you would tell us you would like even if you didn't like it. I just don't think you have it in you to fully admit that. And it's not you being wrong. It's just that if the internet has declared something as prime cinema, you just can't disagree with it. I just don't think you have it in you.
Unless it's super popular at the same time. Unless it's also a cultural landmark. A cultural landmark, because again, it feeds into these ideas that your personality is tied up within a movie and a director and a genre. You know, and that's something I fight against. I've fought against that my whole life with band worship too. It's this idea of just because you like something, that fucking director doesn't know you from anybody. Well, I like his movie, so he and I are friends, or he and I don't watch this shit. I watch this. I don't listen to that stuff. It doesn't fucking matter. You're not them. You're not, you know, this
it impedes your ability to enjoy stuff. Like I used to gatekeep stuff all the time when I was younger, music, movies, etc., anything. Because somehow that became a part of my identity. And like, that's just, you know, I'm not deflecting this onto you. I'm not saying this is you. I just find that sad, where it's like, you can't just look at stuff like with a critical lens and actually put some thought behind it. This is me critiquing other people, not you, Joe. It just bothers me because like, you're missing out on like, and that's the best part of malevolent movies, is that there are so many really awful films that I have enjoyed my time watching them, whether because of them or in spite of them, or because of the conversations I get to have with you guys. They have given me so much more joy than fucking, you know, any Coen brother movie combined. Like, I fucking love the Coen brother movies, but like by the sheer volume of time I've spent talking about fucking Sickness House versus No Country for Old Men. Oh my God, give me Sickness House any day.
I've talked more about Sickness House too.
It's what it gives you. And so like, if these films are sitting here in cobwebs, they're giving you nothing. I mean, probably a false sense of satisfaction because, or maybe an actual sense of satisfaction because you found them and collected them, or a false sense of satisfaction because you believe that means something about you. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to anybody else but you. And if anybody is going to hang out with you because you have this film collection, don't hang out with them. You know, we hang out with you. Even though you can drive us up the wall, mad, crazy, legitimately sometimes with your volume or the things you say and how inappropriate you can be, we still spend time with you because of who you are in the ways that make us feel good. And that's, you have a good sense of humor about yourself. You can be legitimately funny. You're especially funny when you, as you like to say, snipe us. But it's with something that we wouldn't expect you to say, and that's usually something appropriate for the moment and not inappropriate. And so, like, we love spending time with you because of that. We don't love spending time with you because you have a list of 2,000 movies.
No, Joe, because I don't care about that. I don't care about your collection. I wish you would watch them. I wish you had 100 movies that you watched that I could talk with you about. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we could talk about Fargo.
I'm bored. I've been talking about Fargo since you were 1 year old, man. Literally. I've been talking about fucking Fargo fucking forever. Farkin. So, I mean, we can, but I don't want to talk about Fargo. I've talked about Fargo my whole life.
Okay.
I want to talk about something, something fun, something silly, something exploitation, something, you know, you've got all these Hammer movies. Not that those are exploitation movies, traditional sense, but I'd love to talk to you about them. I'd like you to watch them. I'd like you to watch Scars of Dracula and you know, any of these ones that are kind of the black sheep of the series and what you think of them. Because I don't know anybody really. Even the quote unquote horror fans online, they only want to talk about 80s shit and select 70s stuff, which is fine. But even the hardcore horror fans and horror family and our horror community, it's like, hey guys, let's talk about Lon Chaney Sr. stuff. Crickets. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like, oh shit, horror fans are really only 80s horror fans. But whatever, it's fine. That's what they like. I digress. But I'd like to talk to you about that kind of stuff, Joe, because you're going to have a different viewpoint than other people. And right now it's just forums, man. I just go in the forums. And that's boring because I don't know these people. They're just a little avatar.
Yeah, some of them are creepy.
That's not real to me. And I spend a lot of time watching YouTubers, and interact. I was on a fucking live stream last week with a YouTuber where I was participating. He was doing a horror.
Yep. Joe Buckley has not seen Arrival.
Like a geek.
Wow.
Ryan, you were gone.
Oh, well, anyway, I don't remember where it cut out. But
Joe Buckley has not seen American History X.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I'm not really surprised. It's hard for me to get, what I get annoyed with when it comes to Joe is the gatekeeping, is the holier than thou stuff that I would be mad about. I would be irritated by that with anybody, because I think that is a, and I get it if you're young, and even Joe at your age, I would get it. But the older I get, the more I realize this. We all identify with stuff. My favorite movies. I mean, I love, the original King Kong for so many personal reasons. And I remember the first time I watched it and all these sort of things. And if somebody shit talks it or laughs at it or doesn't understand it or makes fun of it because it's of its time, that pisses me off. Yes, I will say that. But for the most part, I try not to be so personal about things. And I also don't think just because this idea of somebody's intelligence being higher because they watch a certain kind of film or they watch a certain genre of show or something, I think they're just hurting themselves, because it's all fucking, there's stuff out there. And that's one of the things I love about Quentin Tarantino so much. And before him, Scorsese was doing this, and guys like that where they were watching the shit that all these other directors were looking down their nose at, and which would have had they would have gained a lot of inspiration from. And Tarantino was like, yeah, this shit I'm watching here is just as fun. You say Lady Snowblood, that's pretty high end, but Tarantino's watching even, lower stuff like that and saying like, there's a lot of great fucking stuff in here. There's a great car chase in this.
Sisters.
There's great stuff in all of this. I remember there's an interview. I don't know how long ago it was. It was one of those round table, maybe it was a Vanity Fair thing where it was Tarantino and I God, who else was there? Danny Boyle was there, and some other directors. And they're talking about their favorite sequences, this, that, and the other. And they're all talking about stuff that you'd expect to hear from directors of their age and directors of their pedigree. And they get to Tarantino and he starts talking about one of his favorite bits of all time is from Police Story. Maybe it was Police Story 2 with Jackie Chan. And and there's this weird vibe, this weird little smirk. I remember, I think Danny Boyle was the one who did it, where it was like almost like, oh, come on, be serious, Quentin. And he's serious as hell. And the thing is, and that's why Tarantino movies that get more watch value than the average Danny Boyle movie, I promise you. And it's that idea of like, even these directors have this idea of, well, what's real cinema, what's not, what's this. And that's the thing why I love Tarantino, flaws and all. Is the fact that he doesn't allow his brain to be blocked by these bullshit ideas. If it's on the screen and it's good, that's why people love his top 10 list. He'll have something mainstream as hell up there and everyone's always surprised by it. I'm like, no, I'm not surprised by it. He loves movies. So he can be just as excited about Hubie Halloween as he is Switchblade Sisters, because he's watching Hubie Halloween for what it is. He's watching Switchblade Sisters for what it is. And he gets something out of all of that, and it's this blockage that people will do, where they feel like, well, I remember in the 90s when the American independent cinema thing was exploding and indie film, which was not a new thing at all, of course, was like everything. It was, it was
finally getting distributed and hitting big theaters at least.
But it was like, and I would run into people that would say, well, I only watch indie film. And I'd be like, oh yeah, like, Friday the 13th. No, I said indie film. I'm like, motherfucker, that was an independent film that was a negative pickup by Paramount. That was made with by financial backers, completely independent. But well, you know what I mean. I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean. You mean you're a snob. It's like this idea that it's independent. That meant it was a certain kind of thing, and I'm a certain kind of person because I only watch that. There's this fucking meme that goes around that pisses me off, and it goes both ways, man. I don't like people who just brag about watching trash either. I only watch, I turn my nose up at Citizen Kane, but I'll watch, I don't fucking know.
Citizen Bane.
Yeah, but I'll watch Last House on the Left a million times over that. I'm like, that's just as bad. I don't like the snobbery, period. I think you can look at my shelf and you can see I've got fucking Oscar winners here. I've got Hitchcock movies. Then I've got weird, sleazy Italian films that probably very few people get a kick out of. But it's all cinema, and so to me, I get something out of all of it. Doesn't mean I like all of them, but I'm not going to be like, I'm not gonna get inspiration from this thing, so I'll watch Hitchcock instead. I may get no inspiration from Hitchcock and all the inspiration from one of these, low budget Indiana Jones knockoffs or something. It's just, I guess, long story short, it's this blockage that people put up. And I'm not saying you do it, Joe, but sometimes I think you're doing it, even though you haven't seen any of these movies. This idea, you look down your nose at certain things because you think those certain things are for certain kinds of people that you don't like and don't relate with. And I'm saying you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice. There's so much good shit out there.
Do you want to know what Joe has seen?
Yeah. Let's see it.
Jackass the movie, Jackass number 2, Jackass 2.5, Jackass 3D, Jackass 3.5 unrated.
Yeah, and guess what, Joe? They're hilarious, aren't they? You had a good time with them?
Yeah. And you know what?
They're funny.
I would make a convincing argument that the first Jackass movie should be in the Criterion Collection.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
And I would, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think the Jackass movies and the Jackass show in general is fantastic. I love it. I love that it exists. I don't think I don't like the knockoffs. I don't, but everything good has imitators. I love the Jackass movies. Yeah. Well, and we're not getting into the personal lives and the toil that this took on them, but I'm just saying the product as is, the show as is, the film as is. I think that stuff great. And I think you can sit there and laugh your fucking ass off at Jackass and then turn around and laugh your ass off at A Simple Man. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. And the human brain can do that. The human brain can do that, but there's people out there that will tell you that they are completely different and you can't like them both and they don't have any bullshit. You can.
Ryan, we have one more bombshell in this data.
Oh, yeah.
I have not discussed this with Joe. There's a film on this list that has been viewed many times over that I have kept secret. Released November 27th, 2013. It is an official remake of a movie that Joe claims to love, but he has watched this more than he has that original film, the 2013 Spike Lee Oldboy.
No, absolutely not. That is a goddamn lie. I do not have the Spike Lee Oldboy on my Plex. Do not have it. Absolutely not. I've never seen it. I'm telling the truth. Tyler's either got his little spreadsheet mixed up or he is lying.
It's okay, Joe.
Something up against me.
It's okay, Joe.
It's okay. Here's the thing, Joe. This is totally cool. You can say, I think the Oldboy remake sucks, but I enjoy watching it for whatever reason. It's okay, Joe. You can like stuff that sucks, and without losing your cool guy card. Well, then maybe you might like it.
I believe that Plex has done a little thing where they've accidentally matched the wrong one to the other one.
Joe, I'm fucking lying. I'm lying.
Exactly.
Take it easy. Jesus Christ. God.
But there you go. See how Joe gets so upset because the idea that he could possibly like that. Would you have gotten so upset, Joe, if it wasn't a remake of a movie like that? If we would have said you watched, I don't know, the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
No. And I like Body Snatchers.
What I'm saying is, would you have gotten that upset about something else?
No, it's specifically that doesn't because.
Go on.
No, it's because Oldboy. It's up there. I mean, it may be one of my favorite films. I really like Oldboy. I will never see the Oldboy remake in my life. And it's a falsehood. It's a
Now,
falsehood
Joe,
being perpetrated.
that is you hear what we're not doing? We're not pushing back on Old Boy like we were. See, it's come full circle. We're not pushing back on Old Boy like we would with Dr. Sleep. You want to know why? Because everybody, including Spike Lee, agrees it was not a good idea. It was
they
not
took
a
that away
great film.
from him. They snatched it.
But it doesn't matter. You wouldn't like it either way. Even if Spike Lee did it the way he wanted to, you wouldn't care about the director's vision. You would say, Old Boy, more like don't do it again, boy. I like original Old Boy. So don't even pretend to defend Spike Lee, whose film you've probably never seen a Spike Lee film to save your life. All right. But my point is that
I wonder.
The general consensus would agree with you about this movie. So like that again, why won't you take your friend's recommendation? Give Dr. Sleep a chance.
Yeah, Joe.
Just give it a chance.
Yeah, you might like it. I watched Old Boy remake because of curiosity. I was like, I got to see this. I got to see. I really like the original film, and I was like, but I also really like Spike Lee. And I like all the people that were involved in the movie as actors. So I was like, well, maybe there's something to it. I'll give it a chance. And I didn't enjoy the movie. And I felt it was kind of pointless. But it did, but that's it. I watched it and moved on.
I'm a big fan of the Vengeance trilogy from Park Chan-wook. I really like that whole.
I gotta go fucking look to see if you've actually seen it.
I absolutely have. It's
I would bet
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance.
But there's a lot of stuff that sits within that's in the same pool that Joe hasn't seen. So it's like there's a lot of movies that, wow, if you love this trilogy, you absolutely love this XXX, and Joe's probably not messed with it.
Yeah, I really liked Memories of Murder. That's a really good one. That's kind of in the same vein.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, and I don't mean modern. I mean going back 70s, etc. But I'm not as surprised. I'm not surprised by any of this. I'd already kind of made peace with Joe and his Plex. I just decided in my own brain,
that's good.
in my own brain, that he just does this because he likes the hobby of whatever synapses fire off and give him pleasure in his brain when he's downloaded something that he knows is maybe worth having. That's what he gets his jollies on. I already made my peace that he's not really a super big movie fan because he's given him the main reason. And I don't think he's a movie fan other than the fact that he's not watching a lot is because he's given himself so many rules and parameters that he has to follow. He can't possibly watch this because this guy's in it. He can't possibly do this because it's a remake. You've given yourself so many barriers. And a lot of people do that. Well, I can't watch this as black and white. Oh, I can't watch this. I never heard of it. Oh, I can't watch this. Blah, 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 blah. And all they're doing is hurting themselves. Really, they're depriving themselves of some fucking great pleasure. And that's on them. And that's fine. I used to get real upset when people didn't see shit that I think they should have seen. Now, I'm like, the only person you're hurting is yourself, bro.
Well, that hurt is only about 6 weeks old, though, because that's when we did the Carnival episode, and we got into the Plex and the Extractions episode. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it.
Yeah, and so I've got made peace with all of that, and so I would implore you, Joe, just for your own pleasure and your own pick once a week, pick a title. Matter of fact, maybe I want you to. I don't know. You won't do it. You won't do it. I was like, I want you to start going through Brian De Palma's filmography from beginning to end, starting with his theatrical features. You don't have to mess with his student film stuff if you don't want to. But start with Sisters, and
I think that kind of touches on what the Phase 2 is really supposed to be. So we have been discussing in private. We have not decided on this completely yet. I think it's time for the Joe Buckley time lapse episode, and because this viewing habit is obviously a part of Joe's day-to-day life. And originally my concept was, well, I'll go to Joe's house, set up a camera, he'll go to bed, wake up, and we'll get what a day looks like. Honestly, I think we need to do a week. So take a week's time lapse, condense it into 90 minutes, and see what Joe does. And Joe, I would like, if you're okay with it, Joe, that basically means a week of not beating it in your bedroom. If you can handle that.
Go around the corner. Yeah, go behind the door. You got that Final Destination poster. Just put it on the other side.
Joe, I'll look at it. If you're willing to do it, if you just want to be yourself for a week, But I think we should do a Monday morning through Sunday evening. I'll set up my camera. So it takes a picture, like every maybe 5 or 10 minutes or something. We can compile it and we can watch it in real time. Let the fans view it. But I also, I feel like I have to insist that you have to record what's going on your desktop. So like on the video, we won't show your desktop, but we can at least show what you're doing. So if it's playing Binding of Isaac or browsing movie information, I can condense it into a single line of text or something so that they can know, because I feel like, if you're okay with it, if you're not, that's fine. But I feel like we just have to know. And I think it would help us understand where is that time to watch the movies that just doesn't exist.
Yeah, a week in the life. And you'd also, if you agree with this, Joe, you have to be honorable and do your normal stuff. Don't change your lifestyle for the most part. Obviously, I don't want to see nudity, and I don't want to see you, trying to lick your own nipples. But I just want you to be your own self the whole week. And if that means all it is pictures of you for like 2 hours, you just like playing with a fucking controller in your hand, then that it is what it is. So be it. That's what you did. And that's what we're documenting as scientists. That's what it is. If the study is the study, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
And we see your meals. We see who brings the food. We see how long you're gone from the room. We see how long you sleep. We see it's just like a week and a half in the life, or a week in the life of Joe Buckley. And it's all part of digging in and also making activities the center of phase 2,
Well, like a week is like a long time, though.
It's a week, yeah.
It's a long time. Yeah. It's a long time for what, or to not do what?
Yeah, that's what he's getting.
Well, I gotta beat eventually.
There are ways around it.
Okay, why can't that be?
Maybe you shouldn't for a week.
Yeah,
Joe.
I was gonna say, can't that be part 2 of the episode? Is that you'd go?
I'm gonna hurt my prostate. By
Sunday, he's watched all the Wong Kar-wai films. He's dissected all of them.
He's a genius. He's a genius.
Yeah. He's breaking down the diner scene in History of Violence, shot by shot, and telling you how fucking sweetly edited it is.
He's breaking down the atom.
He's curing shit we didn't even know we needed cures from. He's found a way to literally turn water into wine. He's like, look at this. Boom. He creates a device. From a week of not abusing himself.
Introduce the ethanol into the water and it becomes wine.
Is that literally the reason why you don't think you could do a week, is because you just want to be able to be naked and tug yourself?
Well, it's like, it'll depend. That's part of it, but it's like,
that shouldn't be part of it. Jesus Christ.
Why?
That should not be a priority in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a man with no brain. That's all I do know.
Yeah.
It's a man with no fucking brain.
Yeah. And listen, if you like this, you can check us out. We're on Malevolent Movies. If you want to listen to us, we watched. Oh no, I can't spoil the new stuff we watched. But we've watched Witch's Brew. We've watched Slender. We've watched all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. I need to get better at telling people, because not a lot of people that listen to this, we're finding out, are not neclarily through YouTube. It seems like the majority, I would say, are not through YouTube. So if you're not watching this through YouTube, ignore this. But you need to. If otherwise, if you are on YouTube and you haven't subscribed and you came across this or whatever fucking reason, hit the subscribe button. I'm noticing a lot more people are taking a lot more time on YouTube with giving a special section just to encourage people to subscribe and share and hit the bell notifications. And every time I see that, I'm like, fuck, I don't think I've said that more than 3 times since we've been doing that.
Yeah. I believe the YouTubers think it really, really works. Like they really try to push it.
People are taking. There's a guy watching. He stopped and took a good 3 or 4 minutes talking about pushing that button. And I was like, what? I've never seen that before. But that's the thing. More and more people are doing. So subscribe if you haven't. If you have subscribed, please share this content with people that may like it or people that may not like it. If there are people out there that are like, dude, they're gonna fucking hate this, and they can grudge listen, whatever, that's fine too.
And listen, we got brand new T-shirts up at Threadless.com. So we got a brand new we got a Hunt for Ben October 2020 edition. We got let me see. We got the Spike for Summer Fright 2021 edition.
The
we got
Spike
No
for
Brainiacs.
Summer Fright?
It's a fight for Summer Fright.
Oh, okay.
We got the No Brainiacs, Man with No Brain t-shirt. We got a Bitbusters t-shirt of me as like a little cartoon Ghostbuster.
I want you to picture this, people at home. Imagine if you're in school, you're in college. That's more what I'm thinking about, like high school, college, whatever. Remember, and you put on. Imagine you put on a shirt, and that shirt has Joe Buckley on it. And Joe Buckley's head is opened up like a hinge, and I'm popping out of it. Little Ryan's popping out of it. Imagine wearing that to school. Imagine walking into your 9:30 civics class, and you walk in with that shirt. People see that shirt. They don't know what the fuck that is. They don't know. They've never seen that. You know, you're going to be the cool guy.
They would think you are so cool. I'm going to invite you to my house party. You're going to get your dick sucked so hard.
Okay.
You will not be able to feel your penis for 3 weeks.
Okay, see, well, there you go. That is the Man with No Brain.
Yeah.